Okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I've figured I think it's time to make a video more in detail of this perspective. So there's a lot of scientists, mostly cosmologists and astronomers, that believe that the universe is infinite. Now, last time I checked, it was really more of a theory. Parallel universes, parallel dimensions, multiple universes, maybe even the universe itself being infinite, the one we live in, and maybe there being an infinite number, like not just the universe itself being infinite, but it'd still be along the lines of the universe being infinite. It'd be like the universe had, so like for example, we live on a planet, then we live within the star's orbit, which we call the sun. Then we have like other planets that are out there, then or other stars too. So we live in a galaxy, the Milky Way. Then we live in the universe that we know of, at least, superclusters. And then maybe there's something even beyond our universe. So that's just really interesting to think about. But the question is, though, where does it end? And really, the easiest way to answer this is to figure out, what came first. Now, while people will say that there's no end, which that should be already a good argument to make all by itself, that everything's endless, because there's no end, so infinite, goes on forever. But the way I look at it, though, there is definitive proof, though, that everything is infinite, including the universe. And here's how we're going to prove this. Okay, take a solid object and look at like the states of matter. You have plasma, liquids, gases, solids. Okay, solids are the most compacted, meaning like all the small molecules, pretty much the microscopic stuff you can't see with the naked eye, compacted together. That's why you can't, punch a hole in the wall as easily as maybe punching steel, for example, because it's just hard, so you end up hurting your hand instead because it's more compacted together. So my point is, the stuff that makes up the molecular structure of that object is a lot better than some other objects. So not only that, but if you think about it, like if you examine an object that's big, the reason we can see it is because the molecules that make up that object are more visible because they're bigger. There's so many of them. So like for example, if you were to look at the sun, don't stare at it, but it's like 1.3 million times bigger than the Earth. So essentially what that means is, you can see the sun exist because it's a bright object. You can see it in the sky because obviously it's there. And the mass that makes up the sun, or the molecular structure, there's a lot of it. Obviously it's a big spherical object that creates heat. And that's how we get our light on the sun. And that's where the moon gets its light at too, because it reflects off the surface of it, which is also pretty cool. But anyways, you can tell that the universe is infinite also, because when you look at these objects, they're made up of something. But then look at that object even further. Again, don't stare at the sun, but or a bright object. But think about this though. Okay, so everything makes up a bigger object. So something makes up the sun, then something makes up that object, then something makes up that object. It's a never-ending cycle. Because the idea is very simple. As long as you can see something, something makes up that object. But then it's like, it just keeps going on and on and on because it's visible. It's there. Or if you want to go one step further, take dark matter. You might not be able to see everything about it, and there's even objects that are probably invisible, but they're there nonetheless. And they do exist. So something makes up that because it's something. It's not nothing. Because if I said you have nothing, then there's nothing. But if we have something, then something's there. Something makes up this object. And so what I'm trying to say is, everything is made of energy. Everything is infinite, because if you think about it, there's no end to the way things are made up. Solid objects. There's always something smaller that makes up that object until you get to the question, what came first? Now, I know some people might have an answer for this, and even I have answers for it, but we don't know yet, because all we know is that everything is, like, there's no end to everything, so therefore you're going to have more questions than you do answers. Kind of think of it like this. You can have an infinite number of questions, but where you stand on your research project, for example, is what we'll call it, or progress, is how much you really know. You only know what you know based off how much effort you put into something. So you look at the human race. We only know what the observable universe holds. Therefore, we only know how big the universe really is because we've only seen that far out there. But that doesn't mean, but we know for a fact that the universe is a lot larger than that because we haven't seen the edges of it yet, which kind of makes sense. So if you think about it, even mass, everything, mass, volume, let's see here, just measurements in general, like astronomical units or light years or quarts or gigaparsecs, if you want to go by that. You start to realize that, just when you think an object is big, it's even bigger. And just when you think an object is small and that's the end of it, it's even smaller. Look at when people discover atoms. They were small. Then you found stuff that were even smaller than that. And then even smaller than that, and even smaller. It just keeps going on and on and on. It's infinite. It makes you really wonder how old the universe is, or existence is. It makes you wonder how everything is. The concept of everything is infinite, explained by science, because what science has shown is that there's no end. There's always something out there smaller than everything else. And you can do this with every object known to exist. It seems like just when you think you found the end, there's something else there. And, I want you guys to think about this. And if you don't believe me, go look it up, like what we know as the smallest object, and just compare those numbers, decimals, to, micro and macrobiology. Micro is small, macro is big. It's really interesting what you find, So comment, rate, subscribe, favorite, share this video with people. Hope you liked it. Hope it's kind of informative. Again, I do the best I can with this research. I don't know everything, but that's what I make videos on this channel for, just to kind of get you thinking about this subject, because it's really interesting to think about. When you think about science, it's the Latin word to seek knowledge, and you're surrounded by all these things that you wouldn't even know if you never would have saw them. Like everything is infinite. It seems like it, at least. There's no end to anything. It just seems like just when you think you found an object here, it gets even bigger and bigger and bigger, or smaller and smaller. And it's really cool how that works, because it seems like there's beyond an infinite number of ways and possibilities to do that.